Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of my pregnancy journey with Dr. Sikolia. In today's episode, we'll be talking about one very unfortunate event that can happen to you while pregnant, and that is miscarriage. So I'll be taking you through what a miscarriage is and how we can manage and prevent them from occurring. A miscarriage is defined as any pregnancy loss before 24 weeks. So you've conceived, you've tested positive, and then you lose the pregnancy spontaneously without something happening, someone doing anything to you, then we term that as a miscarriage. So why 24 weeks is because we think that in most setups, any pregnancy above 24 weeks, when it comes out, something can be done about it, and we can be able to salvage it and maybe help the baby grow. But below that, it's very difficult. Now, this may change depending on which part of the world you are, because in most advanced countries, some of them will actually move that definition to about 22 weeks, that is about 5 months, or even 20 weeks. A miscarriage is one of the very unfortunate things to happen. I think you're pregnant, you're happy, and then what happens is that one day you start bleeding from nowhere. You've not done anything, you just start bleeding. And the other thing that you could experience is cramping. So you get cramps, like the period cramps, but very strong. So if you see those two things happening and you are pregnant, especially in early pregnancy, then you should suspect that you could be having a miscarriage and check in for a checkup. So there are different types of miscarriages that we describe. So miscarriage can either be threatened, and threatened, it means that you're just bleeding and having pain, but your cervix, that is the opening of the womb, is still closed. So that, in that case, we say it is threatened. So the pregnancy is threatening to come out, but it's not yet out. Then we could have what we call a complete miscarriage, and that is when the whole pregnancy just comes out. We could have incomplete, and that is when part of the pregnancy comes out. So the fetus or the baby will come out, but maybe the placenta or some of the tissue will remain inside. And then we have another miscarriage, which we call a missed miscarriage. And this means that you had a baby was growing, then you come for a scan, we tell you that there is no heartbeat. So the baby grew up to a certain point and then stopped growing, but you're not having any pains, you're not having any bleeding. Now that, we call that a missed miscarriage. And the last type of miscarriage we have is what we commonly call a blighted ovum. Nowadays, we tend to call it an embryonic pregnancy, meaning that there is no embryo. So you are pregnant, you test positive, no bleeding, no pains, but when you come for the scan, we tell you we can't see the baby. So we are seeing a pregnancy or a sac inside the womb, but there is no any signs of a baby forming. So that we call a blighted ovum or an embryonic pregnancy. The main reasons why this happen could be, one, there is a problem with the baby. So it's such that nature tries to protect the mother or the woman. So if it senses that there is an issue with the baby, maybe the baby is not forming well, baby has some genetic abnormalities, then the body could detect that and try to get rid of the pregnancy. So that is one. The other thing that could make miscarriages happen is if the mother herself has some conditions that do not favor the pregnancy. So you find, for instance, there are some women who have some clotting disorders which would interfere with the blood flowing to the womb, and this could cause a miscarriage. Some would have the lining of the womb is so thin and does not grow to an adequate level, in which the pregnancy can find nourishment and grow. There are some who have cells within themselves that will fight the pregnancy. So naturally you're supposed to have what you call antibodies, and antibodies are supposed to protect you from foreign things like bacteria, viruses and all that. So there are some people who have what you call autoantibodies. So these antibodies, instead of fighting bacteria or any other infections, when someone gets pregnant, they think that the body is under attack. So they come to the defense of the woman and they fight the pregnancy, and that leads to a miscarriage. Now, later on in pregnancy, after the first trimester, someone could get a miscarriage, maybe because there is a problem with the womb, maybe their womb has some deformities, maybe they are fibroids. They could get a miscarriage because the cervix, which is the opening of the womb, is weak. So it tends to open prematurely, and that could lead to the pregnancy coming out. And also some infections, especially severe forms of infections, could lead to miscarriage. So the list is quite long, but what is surprising is that a majority of these miscarriages would just occur for no particular reason. So even if we investigated and looked out for all these causes, you find that you don't find any reason why that miscarriage happened. So that actually forms the bulk of the miscarriages. Do miscarriages run in families? Yes and no. I mean, if you have a condition, for instance, the clotting problem, which can actually be inherited, or it can run in families, yes, and that can actually lead to miscarriages. But a majority of them will not, because they're usually dependent on the fetus or the baby that is growing. So the fact that your sister or your mother had a miscarriage may not necessarily mean that you'll get one, but if the cause is because of a condition that you all have, then it is possible that a miscarriage can happen to you.